Good morning. So I'll tell you a story from Sweden today. A lot of things happening in the world. I will talk about Sweden. Now, I'm not very proud of Sweden. This is pissing me off. I want to be proud of Sweden. Of course, this is my country, but I'm not. I can't be. Because they destroyed it. You know, it used to be a good place. Back in the 70s and the 80s. They destroyed it. So I'll tell you this story. But first I want to promote this book. Right. I'm very proud. This book is a sponsor of this channel. And I'm getting to know the writer. This guy from Ireland. I'm quite impressed with this guy, you see. He's a brilliant guy. And you can get a copy of this book. Now, it's very important, this one. You need to remember, this is a satire. So when you read the description, please understand, this is a satire. It's a very, very funny book, you see. So you do this, you click on one of the links below. There are 3 links, depending on where you live. And that's how you do it. All right. So now this story, it's sort of typical. It's ridiculous. It's about the Swedish establishment, how totally naive they are. Just imagine something politically correct, extremely naive. That's the Swedish establishment. Right, so this is about homework, this story. So the establishment, the government, the authorities, they said, we need to help these kids in these problem areas with their homework. And then they will do better in life, you see. This was the idea. It's a terrible idea. They wanted to pay associations that would help the kids with the homework. This should be the responsibility of their parents, of course, not the taxpayers. And it was a disaster. This whole thing was a disaster. Now, this money was going through this agency, the National School Agency, and they found out that these associations, some of them, they were using the money for something else. I can imagine that they were surprised about, because they are so naive, you see. So they said, what are you doing with the money? You were supposed to help the kids. Now you're doing this. So they demanded the money back. And they actually got some of it back. Most of it was gone, of course. And I will give you some examples of what these associations did with the money, right? The leaders of these associations, they paid their children and their wives. They went on trips to their homelands. They bought phones and computers and these large screens, the TV screens. They used it for rental cars. And even some of them paid off their private debts with the money. Wow. And here comes the problem, because there's a big newspaper here in Sweden. They talked about it, they reported on this, and they made a list of these associations that had to pay the money back. And there were 24 associations on the list. 23 of them were Somalian. And this is the problem, you see, because the politically correct left-wing establishment, they are still left-wing. See, we still have them in these, they are still the bureaucrats controlling things. We have a new government, but we still have these left-wing bureaucrats and left-wing media. So this became a problem. This list, because 24 associations, 23 of them were Somalian. One of them was Eritrean. They don't know how to deal with this. Typical story from Ridiculous Sweden. Right. I also have to give you some good news. I was listening to Christine Anderson, you know, this German member of the European Parliament. I'm so happy that we have her. She's one of the very best. And she has these friends, and they are talking about the tea and the corruption, right? I'm sure you've seen her. She's fantastic. And she's been talking again. And this time the place was packed. So many people there to listen. So what does this mean? Well, I think it means that people are starting to pay attention. People are starting to become interested in this stuff. You know, in the past, there were like 3, 4 reporters, bored reporters, listening. Now it was packed. And she said this, things are changing now. You know, I trust this lady. She's very, very bright, dedicated, great lady. And of course, she's very connected. And she's in Brussels, right? So she said, things are changing now. Their house of cards is tumbling down. Right. So, I hope that she's right. And I believe that she is right, actually. This is happening right now. And we will have to celebrate, right? One day, I will celebrate everything that we did, everything that happened, all the beatings that we took. We were standing up straight. Those of us with the backbone. I will celebrate all of us. One day. I hope it will be soon. Right. Be good.